Hello and happy Monday. I think it's Monday. Happy Monday. I'm excited today because it's the 10th anniversary of my blog officially starting. This was the day 10 years ago that I posted my very first blog post. And so I can't believe it's been 10 years. That's wild and crazy. I'm laughing because I had set this goal just kind of jokingly with a friend that maybe the homeschool swap group, the homeschool swap and chat Canada group that I run or co-host would get to 10,000 people. And my goodness, I'm like 100 people short. How crazy is that? This has been such a wild month and such a wild season as we head to back to school season. Today, I thought we would talk about working and homeschooling and if it's possible and how to make it happen. I'm in the kids' room today, so it's a nice bright yellow thing. I'm trying to be as far away from the computer spaces as possible so you don't have to hear the teenagers doing their teenage excited voices during computer time. So let's talk about working. So when we come to working, we kind of talk about two different things. One, there's working out of the home and trying to homeschool, and one is working at home and trying to homeschool. They both have different needs, different issues, different things to consider. So let's start talking about working out of the home. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't worked out of the home since my children have been born. So my experiences and my information from here is from talking to other amazing moms who are working out of the home, and also having conversations with my friend Jen McKinnon, who runs practicalbydefault.com and the Homeschool Working Mom Club here on Facebook. I just want to let you know that if you're working outside of the home, you are not alone. There are lots of homeschoolers who can do the same thing, who make this work for them. So let's talk a little bit about how that happens. Number one, if you are working outside of the home, during the hours that you're at work and your children are at home, if you don't have a spouse who's off at this when you're working, or you don't have somebody else who can, you need to coordinate childcare. So that can be anything that you need to, whether that's an actual child, babysitter, or whether it's a family member, or whether it's, I don't know, whoever you need to find someone or some way to take care of your child during the time that you're at work, if they're under the age where they can stay on their own. We'll talk about the kids who can stay home on their own in a minute. If you have children that are young, you don't necessarily have to do school. They don't have to necessarily do school during that particular time when there's a childcare person in the house, although you can, and that's totally okay too. We'll talk about that in a minute too. So the first step is figuring out childcare. What is going to happen to your child while you are at work? What plans are you going to put into place to make sure that your child is taken care of? Now, if they're older and they can be on their own, you're going to have to come up with some situations and some ways to check in and check on your kids throughout the day. So some of the tips that I've been told are to do things like Facebook Messenger for kids, or if they have their own phone, you can text message back and forth. You can use Google Hangouts where they can leave you messages and you can touch back on them when you're on your break or when you have a time to take some opportunity to connect with your kids. I know one mom told me that they would pop into video chat every time they had a break, and their kids could ask their questions about the work that they're doing, or they could check in, make sure they're being good. Now, if your kids are older and they're home alone, one thing to consider is internet safety. You may want to find a program or a way to blacklist sites and to be able to control a filter on your internet so that you don't have kids wandering off to do whatever and exploring whatever and getting into mischief while you're not at home. So there's some things to consider. Make sure you've set clear boundaries on what's okay, what's not okay. Okay. Now, the next thing is, if you're working outside of the home, curriculum options are probably going to be needing to be things that are less parent dependent. So there are lots of curriculum out there that are fantastic for families that have parents who are going to actively be doing teaching or are going to do lots of hands-on activities, whether that's crafts or activities or projects, etc., etc. But if you're working outside of the home, you may not have that same time commitment to be able to sit down and do an art project for an hour or whatever. So instead, you want to kind of think about the curriculum choices as how to make life easier for you. So sometimes this is involving using online curriculum where there's like a teacher and they have assignments, or it could be DVD based, so there's a video teacher, or things like teaching textbooks, which uses an online platform that teaches, and they do lessons online and it grades so then you can check a parent dashboard dashboard, those kinds of things. You may want to consider any program that allows your child to work independently that you can follow up on. Another suggestion that was given to me was to create a space somewhere where they can put their work at the end of the day, and with a checklist, a very clear expectation of what they're going to be doing. And then they can put their work there when they're done at the end of the day, so that when you come home from work, you can check what they've done, you can answer any questions and have conversations about what they were stumped on or any of that kind of need to communicate with your child. You also need to know that it's okay if you don't do school during school hours. When you homeschool, you can school whenever. So if your working schedule is from 9 to 5 and you're home from 6 to 8 before 10 or whatever, before your kids go to bed, you can do school then. There's nothing that says you can't do school at the end of the day or off your shift. Or if you work a lot and you're a night shift person, you can do school early in the morning before you go to bed for the day. Or if you work a lot and only have available time is to do weekends, you can cram a lot into the weekends and spend your official learn time then. If you have a childcare person who is able to help you come up with is willing to, or you feel confident in, or they're, whatever, if they would like to be able to help you with the teaching portion, then if you lay out the plan and it's all clear and easy to follow, just get them to do it for you and work with your kids. That can be an amazing opportunity as well. So that's some tips for if you work outside of the home. But what if you work at home? And I know right now that's what a lot of people are wondering. How the heck do I balance being at home with my kids and trying to make the pieces jive together, because it's really hard to do. So here's my advice. Number one, set the times that you're working and the times that you're doing school. Now, the other thing to really put a key into here is that school does not have to run from 9 to 3. Okay, so if you are able to intentionally block off in your day 1 hour, just 1 hour, and in that 1 hour it's only school time, then you will be able to accomplish so much. And you close everything off with work. It's just school time. You're focused right on your kid, and in that 1 hour you'll find that you'll be able to accomplish a lot more than if you try to just cram it however throughout the day in bits and pieces. Now remember, every family is different, so if you can't set off an entire hour, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, that will end up being fine as well. So don't stress, okay? My advice though is to set times that are specific for working and specific for schooling, and they don't cross. So if you are doing school time, focus on your kids, put the phone down, turn social media off, unplug the phone. This is work time. I know that doesn't work in every situation, but it can, if you can work away with your boss or the plan that you need to do school for an hour in the morning or 2 hours in the morning or whatever, or during a typically quiet time that you don't need to be as actively involved at work, or if you can put your phone on mute or turn it off so that you can still see the notifications if you need to be, but at least you know that this is school time and your kids know it's school time. Create a routine and set a time of the day that's intentional on your kids for school, and a time of the day that's intentional set for work, if you can do that. If you are able, some really good tips are to be able to outsource anything that you can't do that's extra. So for example, if the house is a mess and you're feeling overwhelmed because you can't balance, and let's face it people, balance is a myth anyways, it's all about the art of priority. And at this point in our lives, if things are chaotic and crazy, the key things are going to be family, work, school. Okay, those are probably going to be the top 3 priorities. And then you need to make sure you take care of yourself somewhere in there so you don't burn yourself out. And then all the other crap like housekeeping and all the other things that vie for your attention. So the main thing is to cut everything extra out. So if housekeeping is one that you can't keep up with, hire somebody to do it. Hire someone to come in and clean for you, because it's okay to accept help and you can't do everything. So find somebody to do that. Use cheat tools, whether that's a checklist for keeping the house clean or a meal planner that doesn't say sweet potatoes only for one day because you messed everything up. Okay, but the point is that you need to be able to find tools and tricks that are going to work with you to take them off your plate or simplify them or get rid of the mind weight that they add to your day. So get rid of all the extras. Focus only on the things that matter for now. When you get up in the morning or before you go to bed, depends on what kind of personality you have, make a checklist. What are you doing tomorrow? What are you doing today? Make a list. Be realistic. I'm really terrible at being realistic, but make the list and then start at the top and chip your way down. Pick the most important things first. If this is a job that you are running your own business or you work for somebody else and you know that you have to accomplish certain things in your day, make sure that the important things are done first. Make sure they're off the list first. Make a checklist. Now let me tell you why I recommend this. When you've got kids and they're interrupting you 10 million times a day, you will not remember what you were doing the next time you sit down. I know it's really hard to transition from this brain to this brain when you've got kids asking for food and you're trying to finish a sentence or finish a phone call or whatever. But if you write it down and you only have 5 minutes to work before a kid comes back to interrupt you again, then at least you know what you're working on and what you're finishing up, okay? So just honestly, I just chip away at my list. That's the only way I accomplish anything in this craziness of house. So I write down in the morning, this is what I gotta do today. And every minute I work on one specific thing and I chip my way down the list. That's how I do it, 5-minute chipping. That's how I get that done. Now, if you have the opportunity to set aside times where someone can come in as a mother's helper or something like that, who can come in and look after your kids for a while, or you have a spouse that's home and you can, some families I know that, if the one parent comes home at dinner time and then they have dinner together and then it's time for parent B to be able to do work time. So parent A is going to spend the time with the kids so parent B can work. Okay, so those are some options as well. I would also recommend that you really work on setting up a routine with your kids to understand that when you're working, you can't be interrupted. Like if there's specific things, I've seen some things on a door where the parent will put on a workspace door, like busy right now, or don't disturb, or some kind of sign or symbol that the kid can recognize. So if you have to do a video or you're in a really important phone call or a really important meeting, then they can recognize that a symbol and they know that you will come to them soon. You'll be able to help them as soon as you can. If it's an emergency, they know that they can come get you for real, but not if it's just that somebody, like the other day during one of my video chats here, and they were screaming and I thought there was blood and it just turned out to be angry siblings. But if you can kind of train your kids to think for themselves, find the solutions for things. It's a little easier if they're older, but when they're young, you can do it too. My little ones are good if they know that I'm busy and they see that my door is closed because I'm doing a video. And generally, not always, because kids are unpredictable, generally they're able to fend for themselves. I've made snacks down low. I've made access to television easy if they need to. They can find all their favorite games and activities. Everything is where they can grab them and take them when they need to if I'm busy and I can't help. Also, if they have an older sibling, they can use siblings to help as well. I will also mention to expect interruptions. This is going to be a challenge for families who've never had the need to or opportunity to both work and school and have family around. Let's face it, if we are working at home and we have kids, we're going to get interrupted. If you remember that awesome BBC interview where the little kid comes wandering in the middle of a live segment and the dad's like panicking and the mom comes like barreling in like a like a ninja and yanks kids out, we all get interrupted. If you have a family with life, you're going to get interrupted, and we just have to learn how to flow with it. You can't get angry and frustrated because frankly they're just kids and they don't really understand. So just take some time to be gracious with yourself, be gracious with your children, and acknowledge that everybody everywhere is feeling similar at this point. It's not that you're being unprofessional, it's just that you're a parent. Okay, you've made choices and this is what we're going to have to do. People need to be gracious. So hopefully these tips have helped a little bit with some ideas about how to work while you're homeschooling. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below and I will try my best to answer them. Anyways, I hope that you guys have a great day and thank you so much for being with me. I'm excited to celebrate the 10th anniversary of my blog and we're going to just keep chipping away at everything. All right, so we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.